Good morning. Welcome in. How are you today? Pickle Pie is here. Raquel, Schnauzer, my humble hearth, Lena, Susan, Granny Grunt, Sony. Welcome, welcome. How's everybody today? Sorry, I'm running a few minutes late. Getting it started. Wild Granny's here. How are you? I'm gonna mod you. If you can stick around, don't worry if you can't. It is cold. It's cold here too. And my friend Melanie Lovely Pinto texted me this morning and said she's in Texas, in that part of Texas that gets horrid, wicked storms, and they're expecting a ice storm. So she's canceling her show for Saturday because they might not have power. So no fun. So I'm like, ugh. It's cold here, but we don't get ice storms, thank goodness. 'Cause I lived in Washington. Oh, you're getting 7 inches. Wow, that's a lot for because you're in the South. That's a lot, right? 7 to 12 in Northwest Arkansas. Yeah, it's crazy. It's flipped because I'm in Utah. Oh, you're near St. Louis. That's right. Um, in Utah, we usually get lots of snow, and we have had zero snow in the valleys this year. I mean, almost none. The mountains have gotten a little bit, but yeah, we have not had to shovel snow once this winter. I'm not complaining about that part of it, but it's kind of nerve-wracking that we've had no snow because we rely on snow here to fill the, aquifers, reservoirs. It's our water. So it's kind of scary. So in Indiana, snowstorm coming this weekend. Hope they are wrong about the accumulation. Ugh, yeah. So yeah, in that sense, I am not envious of everybody else, but we are not getting snow here. So interesting. Weird weather patterns this year because I know Florida's gotten some snow. So kind of strange. But the West has been very dry. All right. So I wanted to talk about giveaways today. That's something that's been on my mind. Um, yeah, you got your bread, milk, and eggs ordered. Exactly. Get some bottled water. If you have a fireplace and, or a gas fireplace, make sure you have gas, make sure you have wood, in case you lose power, right? Or a generator. I don't know. Crazy times. Um, Anyway, I wanted to talk about giveaways because a lot of people are like, do I do giveaways? What's the advantage? What's the disadvantage? Is it worth the cost? Lots of different things. And I also wanted to remind people to please look up the rules for giveaways. You technically are supposed to show what's being given away, and then you have to show it before the giveaway runs, and then you need to send them what you showed, or you could get in trouble. So make sure you show what you're giving away, and then when it runs, they get what you showed. So if you showed a gift card, they better get that gift card. Whatever it is you show better be sent to the person. If you're not going to do that, don't bother with giveaways because then you're breaking the rules and it could jeopardize your ability to sell on the platform. And it's not Whatnot being mean, it's Whatnot following the laws of the states because states have certain rules about giveaways, about what are considered giveaways or sweepstakes or whatever, because they have gambling laws And if you don't follow those rules, then it can affect your business. So Whatnot is just trying to comply with all of the rules that states have about giveaways and sweepstakes. And a lot of younger people don't remember. um a lot of companies used to do mail sweepstakes and stuff like that, and there were a lot of rules. You'd get a big old packet of stuff and you would send away, and it would have a whole page of disclaimers printed out. um so yes, so you need to show before that giveaway draws. You shouldn't be doing random giveaways, because then there's no specifics about it. So if you're going to do just pick something out of a box or whatever, take a picture of the box with everything in it, and your giveaway needs to say pick one or whatever, and then you show it, and then they pick something out of there or something. So, because I do that too, but I pick it and show it before it draws. So I'll say you're going to get this, or you're going to get to pick one of these. Does that make sense? So yeah. And be especially careful about the buyer giveaways, because people can go in and fill out the form. So if you do a nicer buyer giveaway, here's my tips about that. Show it. Give everybody that made a purchase a chance to get in, and then draw it fast. Don't let it go for the full 5 minutes. And that way you're less likely to have form fillers win the buyer giveaway. So, and just keep that in mind, when you put in what you're going to give away, because you do have that chance that a form filler will win. If, you know, if they want something, they'll, you know, so just, be aware of that. So, with that in mind, what are the advantages and disadvantages of doing giveaways in the first place? So, a form filler. So, if you go into someone's show and they're running a buyer giveaway and you tap it to try and enter, if you haven't purchased something, it says how to enter. And you can click that and you can go down this process of going through through the system and filling out a form, because one of the laws in most states is that you should not have to purchase to enter any kind of giveaway or sweepstakes. So no purchase required, right? You've seen that in legal terms. So they can go fill out the form. I've never actually seen it, because I've never gone through the full process to try and see how that works. But it is doable. I think they have to do it for each giveaway, but you know, so I think what happens is you'll have some of these bigger sellers supposedly giving something really nice away, like an iPad or something, and you'll get a bunch of people that will go in and fill out the form because they have the giveaway listed, right? They'll go out and fill out the form before they run the giveaway. And then you've got a bunch of form fillers that have entered. And then in the past, some of those sellers were not actually sending the giveaway and getting themselves in big trouble, because they were like pissed that the person who won it was not a buyer. And it is discouraging when you want to reward your buyers, but at the same time, that they have to comply with the law. So, that's why I'm saying be careful, what you give away in the first place, and strategically do it in a way to try and make sure that your buyers win, but follow the rules so you don't get yourself in trouble. So, I don't do high, rarely do I do anything like outrageous, just because I want to reward my buyers, but I feel like you can do other things like the rewards program that truly rewards your buyers because they buy and get discounts and coupons. The more they buy, the more discounts and coupons they get. So use the reward program once you're eligible for that to reward your buyers, and then just do nice, reasonable giveaways. And I personally like to do follower giveaways because I like to have something to say thank you when I get a raid, or to reward new buyers. So when we get a new buyer, I'll run a buyer giveaway or a follower giveaway depending on the timing in the show. So I like to have something, little fun things to do for that. And a lot of big sellers just have giveaways running constantly because giveaways do help keep people in your shows, if you can afford to do them, because people will, it's just that mentality of, oh, I entered the giveaway, I better wait at least till then to see if I win. And then, oh, bam, they've got another one started. It's just that mentality of, it keeps people in the show. But if you can't afford to do it, or it doesn't make sense for you as a new seller to continually be doing giveaways, you don't have to do them that way. You can do other things like randomly do a dollar start, or randomly do a really fun special flash sale, or you can do other things. And obviously there, you should be trying other ways to keep people in your show than just doing giveaways, because if the only thing keeping people in your show is a giveaway, then that's a problem. So they should want to be there for a lot of other reasons than just a giveaway. And then I wanted to talk about the actual rules. Yeah, and that's fine. Find something flat that you can mail in an envelope, like stickers. I've been doing embroidered patches. I do the little bookmark kits. Find something that you can afford to do, and that's fine. I think that's totally fine. But at the same time, if you feel like people aren't entering because of what you're giving away, it's kind of like, so, make it a really cool one, make it a little bit more exciting so that, they want to, and make it a special thing. So yeah. Yeah, something, flat magnets. That's a good idea. There's lots of things you can come up with, that you don't have to spend a lot of money on. So I love the little bookmark kits I do in my quilting shows, because it's actually a little sewing kit that they get in the mail of something they can make. And I use really fun, cute fabrics. So you hate the eye masks? Yeah. You've been dressing up for your shows. See, I love that. Yeah, I love that. So do other things to help make it, more exciting. And use the giveaway strategically. So giveaway rules. Um, so there's quite a few rules about giveaways, in addition to, um, you know, what you give away and everything. You've got to make sure you're following the rules. You cannot give away cash. You cannot give away coupons, because it has to be an actual physical item that you give away. You show, and then you send it to them. If you do gift cards, you still have to send something, even though you could do a digital and just email them, message them the code. You still have to physically mail something. So that's the other thing too with giveaways. You have to send them something. So it's got to be a physical thing. Whatnot has announced and hinted that Whatnot credit giveaways are coming soon, but we don't know when, and I don't know the details of how that will work. I am super excited for that. Yes, you can do coupons for your show, but a coupon cannot be the giveaway because it's not a physical thing. And there were some people for a while doing giveaways that were free shipping. So they would enter a giveaway that weighed a pound, I think is how they were doing it. And then when the person won, it would give them free shipping because that item was a pound. But the problem is they then still had to send them something. And if the person didn't buy anything, they wasted $9.21 doing a giveaway for free shipping, and still had to send something. So that was kind of a bust idea. I mean, it was a good idea in the sense that it was a way to get people to encourage them to buy. But what if they didn't want to buy and they won the giveaway? Lame, right? Okay. Let's see. Yes, they did send something as far as I know. I haven't seen that super recently. So I think people got the hint that that wasn't okay. So make sure you read the rules about giveaways and understand what you can and can't do. It does need to be shown, and then you send what you show. So be, cognizant of that and aware of that. And then as far as, should you do them? Should you not do them? Honestly, the answer is that you need to decide what works for you. What can you afford to do? Do you feel like it actually makes a difference? You have to decide that. And, just kind of watch how many people are entering, who's entering. Is it making a difference? So you, after your show, you go look and see how many new followers did you get from those followays. Did it matter? So, really pay attention to make sure it's worth the time and effort, because it does, you have to think about what you're going to give away. You got to get them entered. It is some effort to put those together. And maybe it would be better, you'd be better served just doing a couple and then doing dollar starts every once in a while as a reward instead. So you decide. All right, let me make sure I'm not missing any questions. Let's see, 1 hour is a good start, in my opinion. Yeah, that's, if that works for you, great. So you're doing dollar starts at the end of your show. Yeah. And if you advertise that, people might want to stick around for the lower start at the end of the show, right? So, yeah, you just have to kind of really try some different things, see what works. What works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for someone else. Everybody kind of runs their shows different, everybody has a different vibe, and you decide what works. We're terrible about remembering to do buyer giveaways. So I've started, whenever we get a new buyer, that triggers me to go and do a giveaway. And I think that's a good timing because it's like it's recognition. Yay, we got a new buyer and everybody getting this giveaway. Yay. Or we get a raid. I like to do giveaways on raids. It recognizes the person who rated, and gives everybody a little gift for the raid. So, and it hopefully will help keep some of the raiders in your show, because inevitably you get a raid and a lot of times people drop off because they've just come from another show and they're like, okay, I really need to get some things done today, and that's fine. Everybody understands that. Not every raid is everyone's going to stick around. You just can't expect that. But usually you'll get a few people that'll hang around. And if you do a giveaway right when the raid happens, you'll have a few people stick around. So, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. And just play with it and figure out what works. So Style says, I got 2 orders yesterday from the same address. The 2 buyer accounts were inactive and Whatnot Support said not to send the orders. Yeah, there's some scam accounts. What they are, I think, usually they come from a handful of states. They come from states that don't have sales tax. So like New Hampshire, sales tax. What other states don't have? Anyway, there's a couple of states that don't have sales tax. And what it is people who have stolen credit cards, or they're just randomly putting in credit card numbers to see if they work. And then they shut those accounts down as fast as they order because it'll get a fraud alert, So even though the order goes through as if, and usually you get paid because, if it goes through, it obviously went through, right? But they pick items that are, like between $5 and $10 that are out on the marketplace. So they rarely buy live in a show. But I have had one buy live in a show too. So then support said it was fine. I still had them cancel. Yeah. So I've had several like that. Let's see. There's been some rumors going around about people losing their account when they set or change spending limits. Have you heard of that? I haven't heard of. I know about spending limits, but I haven't heard of people getting their accounts canceled. That's interesting. So let me take a screenshot of that and ask, because yeah, I haven't heard of anyone actually getting their account canceled. So screenshot of that. So if you know of a specific incident like that, message it to me because I would be curious about that. Let's see. Crazy says they shut me down for changing my bank account, and I got the info from Whatnot, got it straightened out right away. Oh, you went in and changed your bank account? Well, so that's going to trigger an alert because they're going to want to make sure that someone didn't hack your account and change the bank to their bank. So I can see that happening. So you probably need to, if you're going to change your bank information, you probably need to go, message them with the instructions of how to do it and alert them you're going to do it before you do it. So, yeah. So, yeah, just let me know if you hear someone saying that, ask them for legit details because I would be concerned about that happening. I just saw someone say they got banned because a $3 bid didn't go through. Oh, so someone bid and then their payment failed, and the seller blocked them, or they actually got banned from the platform. So that's different. Oh, Whatnot banned them. Whoa. That's interesting. So where did you see that? Because if they got banned, then they wouldn't be on the app. So you're trying to keep your Whatnot funds separate from your personal account. Yeah, and that's not a bad thing to do for sure. If you have it set up that way. It was in a Facebook Whatnot group. Oh, yeah. Yeah, be careful about what you hear in those Facebook whatnot groups, because it's going to be all kinds of crap. I tell people to be careful about getting too wrapped up in those, um, in Discord or Facebook groups, because people are going to just say all kinds of crap. You never know how much of it is true or not. So, especially if someone's disgruntled about something, they're going to rail about on and on about, um, if they had a bad experience, then all of a sudden everybody's bad, everything's bad. It's like, and that's the sad part about someone having a bad experience. If they come on to whatnot and their first experience is bad, they're going to assume that every seller, every experience is going to be bad, and maybe they stop coming and shopping, and it ruins it for everybody else that could have given them a good experience. So, we want all sellers to be legit, to be honest, to be, good sellers, so that people will stay on the platform. So that's partly why we do stuff like this, seller education, to try and help everybody, be good sellers for the sake of everybody else, right? Because it ruins it for a lot of us when people do crap like that. Style Council says a huge seller now has an inactive account because they didn't follow community guidelines. They went on a live very drunk. Yeah, that's against community guidelines. So you're not supposed to be, you know, drunk or drugged up or drinking or, anything like that. So, yep, you can get banned, that's for sure. Because, if people are in a show and someone is obviously, you know, debilitated, either they're concerned that there's having a health problem, or they're obviously drunk or drugged up or something, and people will start reporting it. And if they get too many active reports, boom, 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 like emergency, they'll get shut down pretty fast. So yeah, you're not supposed to smoke. Obviously, you're not supposed to do anything sexual, stripping. I guess apparently there was someone who, um, I guess there was somebody who, I didn't ever witness this, but I guess there was someone who was doing kind of a strip tease behind, like, she was selling something, and every time someone bought, she would remove another part of something in front of her. Yeah, dancing half clothes. Hey, good morning. Yeah, so people, it's like, I don't know where these people's brains are, but that's probably it. They probably are inebriated or drugged up or something, right? And so they aren't thinking straight, because obviously we have rules like that, right? And another one that's getting, a lot of I've heard a lot of people getting in trouble because they're having their kids, run shows or be in the show doing things, and kids aren't allowed to have an account and run shows, and you need to be careful about, what you're having your kids do. So don't have your kids run your show or have an account. They can't. It's There's rules about that. So, yeah, exactly. It depends style. Some people are, if they get banned, that's it. The end. You never back on. Some people, they can, negotiate it. Maybe they just get temporarily banned. But usually if you go on and it says this count has been removed, that's usually pretty final. I have seen somewhere temporarily, it'll say temporarily, um, I don't know what the wording says, but temporarily inactive due to policy violation or something. And then they, it's kind of like being sent to the corner for 2 hours, because you did something bad. So it just depends on, you know, how egregious the thing was. Yeah, they get put in timeout for, and sometimes, people didn't realize, they innocently, accidentally, you know, sold something that was on the banned list. So knives have been in the controversy lately because I think they updated some rules about knives. Um, so yeah. Crazy said I did my first raid, and the show I raided into, the woman was ranting about someone with such a filthy mouth that a sailor would be blushed. Oh, isn't that embarrassing? So yeah, be careful about who you raid. Make sure you've either seen their show before or know who they are at least enough to be safe raiding into them, and funny, but you never know, because funny enough, I raided the other day into someone that I was pretty sure was safe. And then within a minute of me raiding, she started doing something like that, and I was like, whoa. you know so you just never know. What are your thoughts on raid trains? I think raid trains are a very useful tool when you're a new seller to help you get, some new followers and get some exposure. And then after that, it just depends, strategically do raid trains that are going to help you grow. Have you heard any buzz about China sellers on whatnot? Not so much in fabric, but beads and blind boxes are full of sellers from China. I saw that in a couple places recently. I don't know how that's possible, and because they obviously have to have someone in the United States with an address that stuff can be shipped from. So maybe they are supplying someone and then selling it, and then some of the money is getting, sent back, because all the banking has to be legit in the United States, and the shipping address has to be a US address, because every country is, its own separate thing. So I'm not sure how they're, pulling it off, because they would have to have, they're buying from US address and then shipping direct from China. See, I don't know how that's possible, because fulfillment has to be through the post office. So how are they connecting the fulfillment? How is someone printing out a shipping label and having it show that it got fulfilled through whatnot? That doesn't even make sense, because there's no way they can fulfill it through the US Postal Service. So, yeah, that's, and maybe they're printing the labels also here, but then, to make it seem like it's getting shipped, but then it actually is getting shipped out of China. That just seems like that wouldn't be worth it for them. I don't know. So, Callie says, I innocently let my Gibby winner a heads up about who was sending her an email from my other business, and I got flagged. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. Callie, reword that. I innocently let my Gibby winner send her an email from management. Okay, yeah, you'll have to be more specific, because I'm not sure. Wondering what Whatnot is doing to combat that. They're buying us US addresses and shipping direct from China. Okay, so you guys have actually been in shows bought something and then you've received something shipped from China, is what you're telling me. So, yeah, I mean, I need you to go report, go into that account and report the seller and say, I bought something in this show and it was shipped to me direct from China. So if that has happened to you, make sure you report it, because that shouldn't be allowed, because then there's a huge delay and it's not. Oh, they're selling shipping to US address, then it gets addressed when it gets here with a USPS label. Oh, okay. But then there's a huge delay. Yeah. So that's against terms because they're not shipping it within the 2 days that it's required. I can't believe it would even be worth it to them because of all the tariffs and everything. That just doesn't even seem, but maybe they're doing it through Temu or something. Faye says, I bought from a seller in Germany and a postcard is sent to me from US to fulfill shipping through whatnot items sent later. Ah, okay, interesting. So, trying to think if to me, that shouldn't be allowed either, because they're technically not sending you the item you bought. They're just skirting around the shipping guideline by sending the postcard and then, shipping the item later. And if they're not disclosing that up front, to me, that's totally against terms of service. So please report when something like that happens to you so they can shut those accounts down. You report, but they immediately pop up with a new account name. Yeah, and that's another problem too. Because the scammers, it does mean whatnot has arrived. I do know that they are focusing heavily trying to get trust and safety, to be able to identify stuff like that. So just be diligent in reporting so that they can follow the train. Because what happens is someone can go in and set up multiple accounts all at the same time at the beginning, right? And then the minute one gets shut down, they already had another one that was active, and they can start using it and then the trust and safety didn't know the other one was already there. They're watching to make sure another one doesn't pop up under that same, whatever that ISP address, right? But if they already had an active one that was already set up before, so that's another reason why it's important that they have those things in place, like you can't get instant payout until you've got 1,000 sales. They took away reduced shipping for that reason, and there's some other things they put into place to try and prevent these people from coming on and just trying to get a bunch of sales and then dropping off and taking the money, right? I send e-gift cards and I order them using a different business. So I was letting her know that, and whatnot flagged me saying I can't promote another business. Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So yes, that's true, because terms of service, you can't do anything. So like, for example, if you own a brick and mortar store, or you work on another platform, you wouldn't want to send someone a gift card for your other website or your other business, or you wouldn't want to send them the web address for another business, because then you're trying, because that would be seen as trying to send someone elsewhere to shop, and that's against terms of service. So yeah, be very careful about how you communicate with people, what you give, what be careful about promoting. I've actually seen people very egregiously having right on their profile, come to my website, you know, to order whatever, no, you know, I've seen people put their Etsy shop or their Poshmark shop or whatever right in their profile. No, you're trying to send people somewhere else to shop. That's against terms of service. So don't do that. Okay. Um, let's see what seller does big business or whatnot. They made a deal. Yeah, I don't we there's no way for us to know if someone made, if they made some kind of deal, but definitely if it seems fishy, it probably is. The two accounts that were inactive after buying my clothing already started a new account. Well, and that's what I'm saying. They probably had those accounts already set up so that the minute they got shut down on the one, they could just open the other one and start selling because they had it set up before they got, so they go in and set up 20 seller accounts and they just don't start selling on the other 19 until the first one got shut down. And because they were already in existence, it's harder for Whatnot to detect versus flagging that address, that ISP address, and making sure they don't open new ones. See what I'm saying? So I think they just weren't actively selling on the other ones until the first one got shut down. So I report them, but never see any results. One is a premier seller, which is mind boggling to me. They never get banned. Well, it depends on, what you're reporting. So, just keep at it because trust me, it does eventually catch up if they are doing things against terms of service. It just takes them a while because they have to research it and make sure people aren't just submitting, because when someone's a big seller, suddenly anyone that's competing against them could possibly be going in and sending in false claims. So if you were a big seller, you would want the platform to give you the benefit of the doubt, innocent until proven guilty, right? So they have to research it and make sure that it's legit, and they give people warnings, and there's a time period, for which they have to make sure all the claims are correct before they just arbitrarily shut them down. So, be patient. Now, there are certain things, like the person who was on the show drunk, or if someone was selling something 100%, this is against terms of service and they knew it, stuff like that should get people shut down faster, but it does take time. And when someone's a really big seller, they're going to want to make sure all the claims are legit because they lose a lot of money if that seller goes away too. So you got to keep that in mind too. And I agree, it's frustrating, because you don't want people like that selling, but don't get too wrapped up in it. Focus on growing your own business, because if you become so focused on what everybody else is doing and frustrated that other people aren't following the rules, you're not spending productive time legitimately growing your own business. So be careful about, getting too wrapped up in that. If you see something, report it. and, do what you can do within your control. So, let's see. Style Council, I'm not sure why that, let's see why that block went into blocked out. Let's see. And I think you were saying bought another top from me. Anyway, hey, a few little bumps. You are so welcome. I hope it went well. So she had a show last night celebrating her 5,000. She just hit 5,000 sales. So that's exciting. A few little bumps. I like to try and at least, when people are celebrating things, drop in and say hi. So yeah, that's awesome. Don't you think no max shipping for a new buyer will hurt them? I definitely try to take advantage of max shipping when thinking about it. But yes, it is going to be more difficult for new sellers to get traction because of not being able to offer reduced shipping. But it will definitely improve the quality of sellers because they're going to have to work a little bit harder to do other things to still incentivize people to come to their shows. I personally think that it was a mistake that Whatnot kind of just made it a free for all for people to sign up and sell. It's a business decision to help grow, but I think they still needed to. When I first signed up, you had to, there was a process. They vetted you. They looked at your stuff. You actually had to go through a little training and take a little quiz, and you had to do some things to get approved to sell. And then about a year and a half ago, they literally just opened the floodgates, and everybody's uncle, aunt, and dog could sign up to sell, and it just kind of opened the floodgates. So, and they were very, when you would ask, they were like, yep, we're just letting everybody sign up. They made that business decision. Well, now here's the repercussions of that. Yes, it did help the platform grow exponentially, but along with that comes all the problems of when you just let every person sign up to sell, you're going to get a lot of fake accounts. You're going to get a lot of bad sellers who don't know what the heck they're doing. It's going to be a big fat mess that they have to clean up now. And they realize that. And I guess they decided that was worth being able to grow that fast. I wasn't there. So it's, but that's a decision they made. And so we all kind of have to deal with that. So, and that's part of the repercussions is now new sellers don't get reduced shipping. And, there's some other things they've had to ratchet down on to prevent people from scamming. So, yeah, do your part by when you see something, report it and then move on. Report it and move on. And if you go into a show and it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Don't buy until you look at their account. They've got a proven track record, they've got good reviews. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. If you've got someone just busting stuff out dollar, 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 and it's just way too good to be true, that probably means they're drop shipping out of China or something. So, be leery if it looks suspicious and don't buy, because then you're probably either not going to get your stuff or it's going to be severely delayed, and you're going to have to get refunded or whatever. So, yeah, just wait until they have a proven track record. Let's see. I wish they would change that because this is only going to get bigger and they have to understand we are all everywhere. Though, yeah. I mean, And they're doing things, they're building out trust and safety. That's one of their big focuses right now. If you missed the Whatnot Seller show yesterday with the CEO, talking about what 2026 looks like, you got an email with a link to a letter he wrote that has a lot of the same stuff, but the live was really good. He answered a lot of questions, talked about things they're focusing on, and that will be posted to the YouTube account, which is in my show notes. So if you missed it, they usually get it posted there within a week. So the second starred bullet in my show notes is the YouTube account for Whatnot, and they post those interviews there. So, and I think that letter is out on the blog. So, but you got an email from Whatnot with a link to that letter from the CEO. It makes, let me see let's see. Did you learn any good news from Grant? Yeah. I mean, he talked a lot about the things that, they're going to work on. I think on the 4th or 5th, I'd have to go look. They're going to they have scheduled anyway, a show to talk about updates. And he hinted at some big updates coming for how we do um, shipping. Not yet. Well, he talked about that they are going to add some additional shipping carriers, so that's exciting. So we may be able to use FedEx, UPS. I don't know, which ones, but it sounds like they're going to add some additional carriers into the shipping mix this year. But he talked about how we do shipping, meaning for the bigger sellers, it's really it's hard for them to be able to match up orders when they have a ton of orders, and they're gonna make it easier for them to be able to print out hacking slips and all of that stuff. So some things like that. He talked about a lot of AI stuff is coming out. I'm already beta testing the AI for listings. So that what you do is you choose a category, you take your pictures, and then you click a button to generate the listing, and it looks at the pictures and the category, and it writes your listing for you, title and description. It's not perfect. So I don't know when it's going to come out. They're working on it to try and get it as accurate as possible, which is important. But it's a game changer because you're going to be able to list things much faster. So, look for that. They're going to do some stuff with AI that is interactive and live, that you'll be able to command things and be able to do things, search through orders or search through things using AI. That's huge. So I don't know exactly what it looks like. Doesn't sound like he knew either. He talked about trust and safety, and that they are definitely very focused on that. And he did say their goal is to have live customer service, so that you can actually talk to a person to get help. But that's, I mean, they went from a handful of employees, they'll be hitting 1,500 employees this year. That's not a lot of people managing a very huge platform. So, they have to add more employees, they have to train people, they have to figure out how things work. You know, the amount of growth this platform has had in such a very short amount of time, and what they've been able to do is like mind blowing. So, this platform went live in 2019, you guys. So we're talking, it's only 7 years old, right? So that's crazy. Let's see. Callie says, I'm struggling trying to get people to write reviews. Um, that's pretty normal. You usually can count on about 25% or less of all your buyers are going to actually take the time to leave a review. But here's the thing. What can you do differently in the way that you send your packaging that will make people open their package and go, wow, and want to leave a review? That doesn't cost you extra money or a lot of extra money. I don't know what that means because I don't know what you sell. I don't know, what can you do to differentiate yourself and set yourself apart? But at the same time, think about it this way. Um, a a handful of really nice, good reviews and still giving you a 5-star rating is better than tons of reviews if a few of them are negative. So sometimes a review or just someone tapping the 5 stars. Because remember too that if someone just taps the 5-star but doesn't write anything, it doesn't show up in your reviews. At when someone clicks reviews, it doesn't show up but it does affect your rating. It just doesn't show up when someone looks at reviews. So, yeah. So try to do things in your process that will make, because you want that wow. This got here fast is probably the biggest wow, honestly. Fast shipping is when people are like, I bought this 2 days ago and it's on my doorstep already. Now, we don't have a ton of control over that if, you live in an area that's notorious for, because the post office has regional centers, and some of the regional centers right now are just a nightmare. They can't get good employees. They have management problems. I don't know. So sometimes that's way out of your control. But honestly, the fast shipping is the biggest wow. Because someone orders it and it's on their door 2 days later, they're like, wow, I'm giving them a good review. And then in addition to that, how did you pack it so that they open their package and it just, they're like, wow, this is really nice. It's nicely packed. It's even if the outside packaging looks like it went through the war, which sometimes postal boxes do, they can tell that you carefully packed it and it's safe and it was, nothing's broken, etc. So that goes a long way. That goes a long way. Yes, Whatnot just finished first grade. Exactly, Faye. They're 6 years old. They just finished first grade. So, yeah. Um, Callie says, I send a magnet with each purchase and thank you cards. And that's great, you know. But fast shipping and, how it's packaged, what the presentation is, all those things go a long way. So just keep on keeping on. And, you can go in and respond to some of the good reviews you've got. That could help. People like it if you acknowledge if they give a really nice review, etc. So I still work full time, so fast shipping will have to wait. Yeah, you do what you have to do. As long as you're keeping within the 2 days, that's huge. um but you can also do something which is try to plan your show in a way that you're able to have the show and then immediately ship if that's possible. because then you've set a time aside the time to do the full process, have the show, ship the show. Maybe do a shorter show more frequently. That way you have time to, go live, sell, and immediately ship. And then you don't have another show until you have, the time to do the full process. That's a thought. Figure it out. What the shell says, I wrap my fabric in ribbon like gift wrap, thank you note, and then ask them to take a moment to leave a review. Yeah, just be careful about how you ask. Say, it's okay to say something like, if you're pleased, please consider leaving a review or whatever, but don't be too aggressive, because that kind of turns people off if you're like really pushy about leaving a review. Yeah, if you're at 2 days, that's within compliance. So, let's see. I do thank you cards with a small note on the back of it, waiting on first reviews so I can respond to them. There you go. Let's see. Fairy Tale Finds just raided. Thank you for the raid, Fairy Tale Finds. Everybody give Fairy Tale Finds a follow. I'm following you. Fairy Tale Finds is Shannon JNS Amazing Finds. And they have a show tomorrow, All Things Disney. So it looks like Disney seller. Can everybody give Fairy Tale Finds a follow and bookmark those upcoming shows? Thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had a good show. All right, so let's see. JJ says, good morning. How does the bidding work when the countdown is getting close and somehow it gets boosted up like 5 more seconds? So when you start the bid, you have the option for how long it's going to run. You can change it from 5 sec, or let's see, can you do a 3 second? Yeah, 3 second up to whatever. You can have it be whatever the time. And then the other thing you have is the reset. So underneath the time is a little reset where if someone else bids, it can either reset 3 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever you set it at. So that's why. So if someone bids in, then it adds, you have it right now set at 5 more seconds. I think that's the default. So if you want it less, just set it for less. And if you set it for sudden death, if you want to do sudden death, then it won't reset when someone else bids in. So you decide what works best for you. So just look at the settings when you start the bidding. It allows you a second if you want to change it. And sudden death is right above that. So let me see if I can show you. Let me run something as an auction. Oh, it won't let me do it on my iPad. I forgot. Anyway, when you run something, well, I can run one of these nobody bid on this. I'm just going to show you on the screen. So here's something. When I click start auction, see how it comes up with time? So I can change that from 2 seconds up and you can go up to 5 minutes. So 2 seconds to 5 minutes. And then the bid time on here, it's giving me 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or 5 seconds, 7 seconds, or 10 seconds reset. I think on the computer, it gives you one that's 3. Gives you more options on the web version. So that's how. So did that answer that? Yeah, you can definitely use an iPad to mod your live shows. I'm walking on my treadmill, so I have an iPad and another phone that I monitor chat. But I actually run my shows from a laptop because I like the web version better for controlling your show. because it has a lot more features that you can use to run your show. You can see the pre-bids, you can see the chat bigger, you can, more easily navigate things. It's just a bigger screen and has a lot more options. So I prefer to use the web version. One second, these blinds are driving me crazy, so I'm gonna switch the direction because there's a spot of sun peeking through. All right, that's better. So yeah, you just have to, reset the time, and I'll show you that again. So again, this is on a mobile device. So, you just change the time to whatever you want and then change the reset. So on this case, it's showing me only 5-second option on the, let me see though. Does it let me choose? Oh yeah, see here's sudden death. If I want to do a sudden death, then I just turn it on for sudden death. So I'm going to do a 2-second sudden death. That's running. Oh, that's weird. Look, it did it for 30 seconds. Huh. Why didn't it take? Did I not change the time? I thought I did. Oh, I changed the reset, but I didn't change the time. So right now it's on 30 seconds sudden death. But it did turn on sudden death. So you saw how that worked. But don't bid on it. Okay. Because that's just one of my things for you guys to screenshot. So you don't have to start the show on a cell phone. You do have to start the show on the device that you're going to stream from, but then you can control the show on a different device. So I use, when we go live, I have my camera. This camera is the device that I go live from. I hit go live, but I have the show open on my laptop, and my husband uses this phone that we mod from, so it's open on that one. And then depending on the show, sometimes I have it open on this iPad, and sometimes he has it open on his other iPhone. So sometimes we have as many as 4 or 5 devices open on the show. Just depends on what we're doing. So, and I prefer to manage the show from my laptop, like I said, because the web version of the software just has a much bigger screen and more features for you to be able to see what's going on in your show. So that's my personal preference. Yep. Style Council has a show tonight at 9 p.m. Can everyone please give her a follow and bookmark that show? Fragmented collage. Oh, that's cool. So you're doing bunch of different types of clothing, and you're calling it fragmented collage. Cool. All right. And you also do arts and prints. So maybe that's the wrong title for that show tonight, because that you've got that same title on arts and prints, huh? All right. So anyway, that's cool. All right. Yeah, if you have a question, put it in chat. Let me navigate to questions and make sure I got everyone's questions. Let's see. I think I answered. If I didn't answer something, if I missed something, just let me know. But I think I got through to everything that was already asked. Welcome in. Thanks for joining. If you have questions, put them in chat with a question mark. and make sure you screenshot my show notes. So just open the show notes and scroll down. I've got 5 or 6 actually now starred bullets in there that have all of the links to the official places where you can go to get information and help on Whatnot. So the first start bullet is the Whatnot seller account. Second one is the YouTube account. Third one is Seller Academy. Fourth one is help.whatnot.com, which is also frequently asked questions. And then the blog, the Whatnot blog. And the last one is the meetups.whatnot.com. So, yeah. Oh, you're welcome, Kelly Thrift. Thanks for coming in and have a great work day. So, if you want to see if they're going to do a meetup in an area close enough to you to attend, please go to that meetups.whatnot.com. It's a website. You can go and look to see where they're having local meetups, or you can also apply to sponsor a local meetup. And those are a lot of fun. We had one here in Utah February of last year, and we just sponsored it, and people met up at a restaurant, and we got to meet other sellers and Whatnot. Usually will, depending on the size of the group, pay for the meal and bring some swag, send you some swag. And in some of the bigger areas, you'll have actual Whatnot employees attend. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So we'll probably do another one in Utah, maybe later this year or early next year, depending on, if we have some more growth in Utah. But it's just really awesome to get together with other sellers and talk to people who understand, what you're doing, and you can network and, talk about things, resources in your state, um, all that stuff. It's just really nice to get to talk to people who understand what you do. Because, you talk to your friends, your family, and everyone just thinks you're weird. They're like, you do what? You go live? You what? Right? Everyone's just like, that's weird. So it's nice to chat with other sellers who are like minded and, just share the whole process and build community in that way as well. So I would highly encourage, if there is one going on in your area, make an effort to attend. It's a lot of fun. And, or, if you feel like you could do it, apply to sponsor a get together, because that's also fun. Networking is huge on this platform. There's other platforms where I feel like, to a certain extent, there was some networking, but nothing like this. Nothing even remotely the level of social media and networking. And that's one of the things that Grant in that interview touched on, because someone asked the question, why did you even get the idea to start this? And because he was big into collecting Pokemon and some other types of stuff, collectibles. And he was like, there just really wasn't anything out there that was a way to collect and socialize at the same time. So that was part of their original intent. I didn't know that. I thought that kind of was just one of the side effects, right? That was their original intent, was to have somewhere that people could actually buy, but also socialize. So I love that, because I think, and he said something like, and it's, way more than I ever thought it would be. So, this is a huge, huge part of our whole process, is the social interaction, networking, community. It's not just about selling. And I think people who come on the platform with a very hardcore, I just want to sell attitude, usually end up failing because they don't want the social media part of it. They don't want to make that effort. They don't want to be, they don't want to interact with other sellers and have the interaction with their buyers. And they end up failing because they fail to see that that is actually the bigger part of this whole platform. So keep that in mind. If you're a new seller, this is unlike any other platform. So if you only like to list and sell, this may not be for you. And not everybody has what it takes to go live. And if it's just not you, it's just not you. That's okay. You can go be successful on a platform where you just list and sell and you don't have to do as much interacting and socializing and networking and all that other stuff. I personally find that part of it the most enjoyable. To me, it's like I get to, be on here and be with friends and like-minded people, and I've gotten to know people. And to me, that's a huge bonus benefit of the platform and makes it much more enjoyable. I really don't love the other platforms where you just list and sell anymore. I don't want to do any of those. So, yeah. My sister's camera shy and I'm not. So I help sell her handcrafted items. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's huge if you have someone, a spouse, a partner, a sibling, a friend that wants to sell with you. That makes it even better, because then you have someone there interacting with you and it makes it a lot more fun. So that's huge. So that's awesome. Yeah, that happens when sometimes if you're on, if your internet or your connection is a little bit wonky, it repeats the message. Daisy Lane says same. Yeah, exactly. It's so much fun to be able to sell, but do all those other things with it. And it can be a little bit exhausting if you're not a really social person. So, it's not everybody's vibe, and that's okay. It's okay if it's just not your thing. And like with your sister, it's not her thing, but if she has you to help do the other part of it, then it will work. So, my husband and I do our shows together, and you wouldn't think it listening to me right now, but I'm more like detail oriented. Let's go. He's more laid back and fun. So I can do these shows because I'm not trying to sell you anything and I can stay sort of focused, and stay on task. But in my regular shows, he's the background, fun, noise, sing. I'm more in front of the camera selling. So, you have to find what works for you. And if you don't have help, you can still be very successful. Just figure out how it's going to work, set it up in a way that works for you. And, some people are amazing at being able to socialize and sell at the same time and make it work, and they don't have to have help. Some people need help. Just decide what works for you. Yeah. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any comments or questions. We started out talking about giveaways. We kind of morphed into some other issues, other things. Are there things that you guys are struggling with that you need help with? is there anything that I can guide you towards? So again, copy the show notes, and then in the auction tab. So if you hit the shop, it'll default to buy it now, but switch back to auction and go through. I've got 18 different or 19 different things in there that are just all kinds of topics and information to help you, guide you. Some are the official ones that Whatnot put together for the community support team to share. And then those are ones that you can find out in the, you'll find some of these same documents in help.whatnot.com or frequently asked questions. But some of them are things I put together. So yeah, just go through and look at all of them and see if there's anything in there you need help with. So I just pinned, for example, the choosing basic shipping settings. This is something I put together. It kind of is a if this, do this, if this, do that, to try and help you figure out how to set up your shipping settings based on what you sell. And then I tell people if you want to go through this document, also go to my YouTube channel, which is in the show notes, and watch the video that is titled Don't Sink Your Shipping Part 2. And then I have a newer one where we talked about shipping again, but that one we mostly talked about custom shipping profiles. So Don't Sink Your Shipping Part 2 has a little ship emoji as at the front of the title. It's in my YouTube lives. So go watch that if you need help figuring out shipping. Where do you change the shipping when needed after a sale on the phone app? You can't. So on the phone app, the only thing you can do is print the label. If you need to change something, you need to be using the web version. So you need to be using a laptop or a PC so that you can go in and change it. So you go in on the web version, go to Seller Hub shipping, and then you can change things. And you use the, on your screen, it shows your orders. You scroll all the way to the right, there's a little pencil emoji. You click that, and then that's where you can change weight, size, package options, all of that. Yeah, the only thing you can do on your phone is print, the label. Oh, thank you, Daisy. So she started 8 months ago in vintage, found Draz, and learned a lot. She is well versed. Thank you so much. Appreciate that endorsement. And Daisy does talk shows too. So if you like, she does a lot of informational, but also a lot of motivational talk shows. So she's fun too. She has a good voice too. One of those voices that's comforting. I don't know what's the right word for Daisy's voice, but you feel at home with Daisy. So, yeah. All right. And let's see, what else can I talk about today? Anyone have anything that you're struggling with? I think probably one of the two universals that everybody brings up are shipping, and then the other one is how do I keep people in my shows? How do I get people in my shows and keep them there? So the one that I always point to for that to help you really think through that is this document, the 5 F's for attracting buyers. Make sure you screenshot those. So I just pinned it, tap it again, make it big. Take a screenshot of this. And if you have a printer at home, print it. And it's a brain, it's something for you to do some brain exercises with, to read through this and really do some deep thinking about what you can do differently to be more successful on the platform. And then I always suggest this exercise in addition to this document. And this is my exercise I suggest. Take a piece of paper and a pencil. And I know nobody does paper and pencil anymore, but do it. And go on the platform and go find 10 shows you've never, ever, ever been into. Maybe pick a category you've never been in. I don't know. 10 shows you've never seen. That won't be hard to do. And write down on your piece of paper their username and then have 2 columns. One column is why did I want to stay? And the other column is why did I want to leave? And you may have stuff written only in one column, or you may have stuff written in both. I don't know. Do that for 10 different shows. And do it from the perspective of a buyer. You're a buyer. You're someone on the platform. You don't sell. You're just looking to buy. You are going to get a lot of insight about what you need to do differently because everybody has a different tribe. People are attracted to your shows because of, different things, but you have your own vibe. And so you are you, and what attracts you to other buyers is what is going to attract other people to you because people tend to go to shows that they are like-minded. Does that make sense? They like you because they have things in common with you, or they like how you are, and they don't necessarily like how someone else is. So you tend to attract like-minded people. Does that make sense? So do that. And then after you've done that, also go to the shows that you find yourself in a lot, the ones you go to a lot, and do the same thing. Okay. And then you're going to discover a lot of things that you can, work on to make your shows better to attract the people that are going to want to shop with you, that are going to want to be in your shows. Okay. And then use this document, the 5 F's for attracting buyers, to really do some brainstorming about what you need to do to have a good show. Yeah. Yes, try not to trauma dump. Keep it fun. Do you recommend reduced shipping for new sellers since a lot of sellers on the app do it? Well, if you could, yes. But right now, if you're new enough, you are not able to offer reduced shipping. So new sellers who are recent enough have lost the ability to offer reduced shipping. And we don't know at this point when they will get it. I don't know if it's going to be tied to the 1,000 sale mark. We don't know. They took it away because there were too many new sellers who didn't know what they were doing with shipping and screwed things up royally and ended up, not sending stuff or having everybody get refunds or whatever. So if you're new enough, you can't even offer it if you want to. If you signed up long enough ago, you should still have the ability. If you offer reduced shipping, it just depends on if you can, if it will work for what you sell. It does make a difference because people do sometimes filter and won't even go to a show that doesn't offer reduced shipping. So it is a disadvantage in most categories if you can't offer the reduced shipping. So, yeah, that's what I can say about it. So yeah. Any questions about the 5 F's? I tried to make, I used the one, I wanted to use a word for each thing that started with the letter F because everybody remembers F for a bad reason, but this is a good reason. It just makes it so it's easy to remember. But fun, fast pace, findings is your stuff you're selling. You have to have stuff people want to buy. Fulfillment, you got to be able to ship it out quickly and provide good customer service. And then frequency. Frequency is huge. It's, if your growth is dependent on how often you are here. If you want to grow fast, you've got to be on here a lot. Doing shows, networking, being in other people's shows, coming to stuff like this. If you want to grow fast, you've got to put in the time. It's just like, if you want this to be your full-time gig, even if you have another full-time job, you're going to have to put in full-time hours to make it a full-time gig. So you just have to decide what is going to work for you, what you can or can't do. Because if you can't do that, you still can grow. You just are going to be at a little bit slower pace. So, you decide. She shops. I have the option just learning the perimeters so I know how to do it successfully. Yeah. So, yeah, if you have the option, you got in before they turned it off. And yeah, go through that document that I pinned. Sorry, earlier. This one, choosing basic shipping settings. Read through that one and go watch my Don't Sink Your Shipping on YouTube, which is my YouTube account is in the show notes. Go watch that, read through this, and decide if it will work for you. The risk you have in offering reduced shipping is that if someone buys so much that it's not going to fit in, it's not going to be able to fit in a flat rate box or a priority box under 5 pounds, then you may have to pay as the seller the extra shipping. If you've used all of your 5 adjustments, you will have to help pay the shipping. So you have to decide, if that's going to work for you or not, based on what you sell. Some categories, like I think probably a good amount of the people who sell in the vintage category don't offer reduced shipping. They just simply can't. You can't go into a vintage show where they're selling stuff like printer trays and glass vases and stuff, Pyrex and stuff like that, and expect to be able to have them give you reduced shipping. But the bigger sellers will still offer it because they're willing to pay the extra shipping because they have a big enough volume of sales and that they can still afford to pay part of people's shipping. So it just depends. And sometimes it means you don't offer reduced shipping for a certain amount of time till you hit a certain point that you have enough people in your shows that you can afford to do it because things are now getting bid up and you're selling enough. So you wait to do the reduced shipping until you can afford to do it. You're welcome. And I'm glad you like my YouTube videos. So I'm not like, I don't know. I could do more on there. I do the basics. I do what I have time for. And I multicast onto YouTube. And so that makes it so you can just go there to rewatch my seller chats. Oh, you're welcome. Kate Kobe. Let me give you a follow. Let's see. And let's go check your profile. So Kay Kobe is Kobe. I hope I'm saying that right. And she has a show today at 11, Women's Contemporary $1 and $3 vintage clothing clearance sale. And then Ephemera on the 24th, 100-year-old piano sheet. Oh, those look cool. Is that picture the actual stuff you have? That's cool stuff. I love stuff like that. So definitely have that bookmarked. I'll try and pop in. Very cool. So yeah, make sure that you research the reduced shipping and make sure that you start doing it if you can and when you can, but not before. Because you want to make sure that it's going to work for you. Because the worst thing you could do is try to offer it right from the get-go and have the problem, which is the reason they turned it off, which is that people were having people buy a bunch of stuff and then on the back end try to ship it and realize that it was going to cost them, 50 to $100 to ship the stuff that someone bought. And in a lot of cases, it ended up being more to ship it than the person spent. So they were actually going to lose big bucks. And so they just decided to not ship it, and their accounts get shut down and they are ruined before they ever got off the ground. So really research and make sure that it's going to work. Yeah, I can see that. You love Murder, She Wrote. That's fun. So very cool. All right, I need to get going. I have a show later today. I've got to get finished getting ready for, and I appreciate you guys being here. If you find these shows helpful, I'm on every Tuesday and Thursday morning on the treadmill. And then once or twice a month, we do go live in front of the camera. And I have a show like that scheduled next week. So this one, the 28th, with my husband and I's face, we will be doing a community seller help and chat in front of the camera. And in those shows, I can actually show you things on screen. And Bert's there with me, and he has a lot of good insights. And he's more fun than I am. So, hey, Cheryl, how are you today? Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for popping in. All right, so let's go find someone that we can raid into. That's always. I think it's huge to raid. It just it's a community thing you can do. It does get you noticed, whether or not the seller shouts you out, makes a big deal out of it or not. People in chat see you when you raid. So raiding is a big deal. Try and be strategic about it. Sometimes pick a new seller, give them a boost. Sometimes pick a big seller to get more notice, kind of mix it up. Do be careful to not raid if you don't know anything about them, because you might take your audience somewhere you didn't want to go, all those things. All right, so let's really quickly go see who's live. I think we're going to raid into crafts today because that's the category that I'm selling in today. So let's see, other craft supplies. Let's see who's on. We're going to go raid into Kristen. Oh, actually, maybe we should raid into this raid train. Let me see what they're doing. Oh, yeah, that would be fun. So Basket Quilter's on. They're doing the Great Gatsby, raid train, other craft supplies. So let's go there. All right, let's go to Basket Quilter. And everybody have a wonderful day. Let me get her pulled up. BS. Let's see, BSK. All right, thanks everyone. See you soon.